the presentation today talking about literacy. And what I did was I collected 4 of my favorite humans, and we're going to have a very open and direct conversation about childhood literacy. Remember, literacy dropped 12 points in the United States from 2017 to 2023, and it's only getting worse. IQ is starting to decrease. We want to solve these problems by promoting the importance of reading long-form physical paper books. My buddy AK over here even brought his daughter, who is a child. Say hi, Layla. And he came specifically for this segment. So let's have all of our panelists come up and we'll have them each introduce themselves. Come on up. All right, so we are going to have each panelist introduce themselves for about a minute, and then I have some very special questions for each one of them. So you can go first, one.
Good afternoon. So excited to see you all back from lunch. Thank you. I am Maya Payne-Smart, the author of Reading for Our Lives, The Urgency of Early Literacy and the Action Plan to Help Your Child. I made the book Reading for Our Lives to be as dramatic as possible. We're not just reading for fun, we're not just reading to have the time. We are reading for everything that matters to us, our health, our wellness, our relationships, our personal growth, our democracy, everything. And we need to think about that starting with the children first.
Thank you, that was awesome. Welcome after lunch. I'm Dr. Kavin Mistry. I am a neuroradiologist. And for the past 20 years, I've been seeing how people's bodies and brains are aging faster biologically than their chronological age. And I thought I should do something, and so put out a book. It's called Primal Health Design, is how to reverse biological age by connecting with our primal design. And now my work is reaching out to children and to prevent that aging process even before it starts.
Speaking of medical cancer, Heaton Ross, author of the USA National Best-Selling book, The Epic County Beat, about for parents, educators, and advocates navigating the 504 IEP process. At every age, my million-plus followers, I'm praying them that we can do this together, and we can get it right for the child, and we can get it right for everyone.
What's up, everybody? My name is Michael McLeod. I'm an ADHD and executive functioning specialist, the owner of Grow Now ADHD, the author of the Executive Functioning Playbook and the Executive Functioning Playbook in Action, bringing back kids' childhood, bringing back play, reading, struggle, boredom, all the things we're missing.
I have some cool friends, I'll tell you that. Some friends in high places. So Maya, let's kick off with you. What's one thing you wish everyone understood about learning to read?
The one thing I wish everyone understood about learning to read is that we have to think about the child, not only about the book. So there's a lot of attention given to read to your child every night, take them to the library, but what's most important is the relationship. Particularly with our youngest children, reading is rooted in relationship. And reading really requires 2 big things. Learning to read for a child is learning to recognize in print things that they would already understand if you spoke those things to them, right? So they need a foundation of language. They need a foundation of words and knowledge and experience and context and connections in order to ever make sense of anything once they have been taught to crack the alphabetic code, which is another matter of we need sequential systematic instruction, like how the sounds within letters connect to the symbols in print. But all of that grows through relationships and through connection, and it starts very young, long before kids get to school. And so it's just important for everyone to understand those 2 elements of reading. They need to have the knowledge, they need to have the vocabulary, they need to have the desire to read because some person in their lives has planted that seed within them. And then they also need that specific sequential instruction to how to connect those sounds to letters. And when we understand that, both of those things, it opens up a universe of opportunities for us to help every child in their life. simply by having conversations with kids, paying attention to them, listening to them, asking them questions, giving them opportunities to think and respond. We are building, again, that foundation for reading, that foundation for life, that foundation for thinking and connection. So we all have a role to play in raising this next generation of readers that so desperately needs these skills that are a risk in a world that's increasingly digital, increasingly disconnected. And it's sort of a family community, I believe, driven effort. School has a place, but we as the families, as the communities, have to hold schools accountable to do their part as well.
There's so much that I've learned from you, and after listening to you talk a little bit and thinking about my son Levi, who, as we all saw this morning, has great dance moves and very red hair, I like the idea that behaviors are caught, not taught. And there's a cartoon that gets passed around social media, and it's a family reading books, a parent and two children reading, and then it's a mom on the other side of the train car. She's got a phone in her hands, and her kids are on phones, and she's leaning over saying, how do I get my kids to read? And it's this idea that behaviors are caught, not taught. So many of us say we value reading, and we're listening to audiobooks, and we're using digital devices to consume our content, we're on our phones all the time, and so your kids need to see you reading as well. Dr. Kavin, you've spent 2 decades as a neuroradiologist. And so what have you seen as far as brains in reading? How are they correlated? Like, does reading help brain development in children? And then also, talk to us a little bit about AI.
Thanks, Nick. So, past 20 plus years of being a neuroradiologist, looking at probably over 300,000 plus scans. Now, once you go through that, you start to see patterns. And now, even with using AI as a tool, we're able to see subtle changes in the brain that we couldn't see before. And what we're seeing, I see more kids coming in with headaches. I see more 30 and 40-year-olds coming in with memory loss. I see women coming in with brain fog. And when we look, there is not an underlying organic problem. They don't have a brain tumor. They don't have an infection. The issue is just one issue, and that's disconnection. And it's disconnection from the way we were designed to live and the way we were designed to learn. And my childhood, I grew up in Africa. My dad used to work for the United Nations. I grew up with tribes in Africa. And one particular tribe is the Hadza tribe that I grew up in Africa. And what is unique about this tribe is they have very little incidence of mental health disorders. They're sharp till they die. And they die not of disease, they die of natural death. And so the question becomes is, what are they doing right? And one of the things was that these guys are out there and they are not just living in a hut, but they are exploring a 10-mile radius environment around them. They're learning. They don't have necessarily books, but they're learning from interacting with the environment. So the question becomes, how do we apply that to our kids? And one interesting thing is, you don't need to move into a bigger house or a bigger city. But every time you open a book, you expand your environment. You expand your geography, right? How many of you are Harry Potter fans? Any Harry Potter fans, right? All right, if I say Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, or Hagrid's hut, you guys recognize that, right? You recognize the geography because that book expanded your mental geography and mental map. So the correlation is when you expand your mental map, your brain gets bigger. Cab drivers in London have bigger brains than the average citizen in London, just because their brain has a mental map of London. So how do we expand our kids' brain? Every time you read a book, whether it's fiction, like Harry Potter, you're expanding their mental map. Nonfiction, you're getting a framework. You read Nick's book, framework, 5 to 6 content pillars, those are your milestones, it expands. So every time you're reading to your child at night, their mental map is expanding and their brain is getting bigger. So my message to you for this conference from me is that every book builds a brain.
Every book builds a brain. I'm stealing that. Karen, for you first, can you tell everybody, what does the acronym IEP stand for? What does it mean?
It's an individualized education program, so it's a student that receives special ed services initially at school.
So for these young kids that are struggling with reading and they're getting that intervention, but they're making very little progress, why do we tolerate that?
Because we don't believe children that receive special ed services are as equally valued as kids that don't. What we focus on, we fund. What we fund, we care about. And we care about schoolwork, reading photo ops, and things that we can afford. And so, if we don't value all children the same, then that shows up in their outcomes, right? And so, as it relates to reading, we have cheated our children because we did a short test. And all of us in this room know that when it's short on the front end, when it's easy on the front end, it's going to be hard on the back end. When it's hard on the front end, it's going to be easy on the back end. And so for all of you that have school-age children or grandchildren, and you're hearing that your child is reading at a level 10, and all of these numbers, I would test that. Because what we've got is to fit that button. And so we're adding everything right to students. And if the teachers are look at what their students' reading comprehension is, no, Bob, that's their listening and comprehension. We do really good. Who's going to push a recorder when he's doing the eye? Who's going to read him a menu? And we have kids that are illiterate. There's 4 components to read, and we need to know how dyslexia, that educating advanced awareness, basic reading, that will using word card, and equability, put it back together. There's reading fluency, for the rate at which you read, it needs to expand over time, and then overall reading comprehension. So the one goal we were all tracking to was reading comprehension. But what we did was we lied to the children. Because what do we tell children in the class when they're taking a test? What do I read? We'll look over at somebody's paper, if it says, cheating. Who did we cheat? We cheated the children, right? So the school, it is our job those 18 years, and it's the rub, right? And it's certainly one job, to teach a child strategy to self-manage their disability. And you have to turn around, because it's education and social education is about the next 8 years.
Thank you. And talking about self-management, Michael, what do you think is the cause of today's youth mental health crisis?
Oh man, how much time we got?
I wish you had more, but we're behind schedule.
So we started this incredible conference, this incredible event, talking about declining literacy rates, IQ declining. We have to be honest here, it is already so much worse than that. This generation of youth is the first generation of youth that has received the most therapy, the most counseling, the most services at school. Yet, they're declining in all important skills because we as adults have stolen the things from childhood that make childhood. And these are skills that are actually prerequisites to reading. We're talking about how we want kids to be able to read, but there's things you have to do to be able to self-regulate and sit there with the book. And the first is struggle. We have stolen struggle from childhood. There we go, sit down. Let's go. A whole room should be screaming preach right now. Right, there we go. And that's what it is. Parents cannot pick up their phone without getting yelled at by every parenting influencer about everything they're doing wrong. Your entire algorithm is parenting gurus that say based on likes and follows, not based on science. Because the best advice doesn't feel good, but the best advice is kind of hard to hear. And if you tell hard to hear advice, like, hey, you're gonna have to cancel your kid's phone plan, you're not gonna get a lot of likes and follows, are you? You're gonna get a lot of e-messages, right? We have stolen the gift of failure We save kids every step of the way, making them unemployable and causing them not to develop executive functioning skills. So circle number 1 and number 2, talk about mental maps. How about boredom? We have stolen boredom from childhood. And what do we do in reward? We build our imagination. And that's our mental maps. And what's the skill called? Non-verbal working memory, the visual imagery system of the brain. Executive functioning skills is non-verbal working memory. Executive functioning is the imagination. And without an imagination, we can't self-regulate and self-motivate and aim our behavior towards the future. So being bored is like going to the gym for your brain. So we have struggle, we have boredom, and the third is the most special to me. Who here wants to guess what was Nick's nickname when he was a kid? Book nerd. It was actually Nature Nick. Why was Nature Nick?
Well, when I met you and we started talking about how I would go outside and I would play in the backyard, and my parents are over here, and they would encourage this. Get outside, make up games, climb trees. That's what I was famous for, climbing trees right outside of my parents' house. And I would make up games, and we would just do that forever. And you said back to me, that's why you love reading books today, which is really interesting. How can you connect trees to reading? It's by unstructured play and boredom turning into something that I love today.
Does anyone here think it's a coincidence that someone played outside and earned the nickname Nature Nick every day of his childhood was able to create something like this? All right? So here's the thought I want to leave all of you with. Give me the child or teen that comes home, doesn't do a second of homework, plays outside for hours and hours, gets B's and C's. Give me that kid 10 times out of 10. More than the kid that gets their homework done during a 3-hour fight with mom, gets good grades and positive accommodations, but does not go outside and play. They get their homework done, earn their screens, and they're in their room for the rest of the night. Give me the kid who plays outside every single time.
I love this direct conversation, and I wish we had so much more time to go layers deeper into this, because this is what brings me so much energy. Before we wrap, we'll do maybe a thought or two each as we close. But first, I just wanted to say my mom told me when I was in high school that C's earn degrees and not to worry too much about it. And it's funny because oftentimes those students that are outside playing and having fun and making up games and hanging out with their friends, they do retain that ability to control their own thinking and to install discipline and project into the future and delay gratification and sit down and read a physical paper book. So I just wanted to thank you, Mom, for that suggestion. In the same order, why don't we all just leave with one closing thought? Just maybe an action. If you can come up with an action, something that is tactical, that is strategic, that we can implement as parents or as aunts or uncles or grandparents, because there are little kids around us and we can't stop ignoring this problem.
So I think I would ask everyone, with the kids in your life, your own children, your grandchildren, neighbors, we all have some child in our life that needs to become a strong reader in order to be able to fulfill their potential. So I would ask you, in whatever interactions you have with any child, to think of yourself not just as a reading role model or a voice to read to them, but think of yourself as a vocabulary builder and a knowledge builder and a connection builder and relationship builder, and really try, in whatever the time span is, if it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, to forge a relationship with that child and share with them some of who you are and use real language so that they learn some words along the way.
Excellent. All I would say is that our primal design is to have mental maps, as I talked about. And every time you read to your child, you're expanding that mental map. You're expanding their brain. And would you like to expand your kid's brain or not? You'd want to, right? Every time. You have the power to do that. Every time you read a chapter, you're doing the same thing to yourself. But every time you read to your child, you're doing even a greater deed. So just want to leave you with that.
So for the last 4 years, the American Pediatric Association has said that no minor should look at a screen for more than 1 hour a day. But if they're going to, right? And so something that will help their reading and their comprehension and their engagement is turn on the captions. So that they're seeing it, they're visually supported, and they're reading at the same time.
So obviously there's nothing better about a mess like this than meeting incredible, driven, like-minded people. And I'm lucky enough to have been do Mr. Annie, Karen Cunningham sitting next to me, and I love the work that she's doing for our special needs population. Because there is no greater victim to big tech predatory marketing than our neurodiverse kids. That is 100% and the biggest things is big tech tells us, and they pressure parents, screens are social. You want to give your kid a social advantage, a neurodiversity who's already struggling socially, you want to give them a leg up, give them a phone, give them Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft. And what happens every single time? They become more antisocial, dormant, and depressed. It's a like-minded, driven, incredible people in this group today that are dedicating their weekend to be here, that are going to change the world and not allow big tech to steal our kids.
And I believe all 4 of you are signing books a little bit later at the book buffet. So everybody come up if you have the same passion that I do about this subject. Talk to them about it, make friends with them. They're all amazing human beings. And like I said, I have pretty cool friends. So round of applause as we wrap up. And Christian will come on and welcome the next speaker.